Couple quick notes. It's okay. Emily will be here shortly, our attorney. And Paul, if he's not already on a call, should be joining us.
I think I've got it right here.
It's okay, great. And apparently the acting city manager has other obligations today, but we do have a quorum of John Mallow, the mayor, and myself, and you don't need to call roll. Having said all that, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chief, any amendments?
No amendment.
Okay, words and presentations.
Yes, we do have a special guest here, a colleague and fellow fire chief came down from Wyoming and would like to share an award with us, so. Sorry, Chief Jason Coy from Laramie Fire Authority.
Laramie County Fire Authority. I know some of you over the years, but just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the board and to the administrative staff of LFRA. 14 years ago, I moved into Cheyenne and I was looking for some help. And I found Chief Ford, who was the division chief of training at the time, or battalion chief of training at the time. And 1 hour lunch turned into a 3-hour lesson on Northern Colorado. And we became friends of LFRA. And over the years, we've done lots of projects, till the flashover, the floods, all those different events. We've crossed state lines and we've broken some maybe rules or regulations to come help. And in the past, you all have come helped. And this last March, Laramie County suffered one of our most significant wildland fires in the most recent years. We burned 6,000 acres in about 2.5 hours, burning a couple hundred homes. And out of the grace of the hard work of all of our folks and the assistance of Loveland, we saved those homes. We lost one garage and a couple little shops, which could have been catastrophic to our community. And I'm stealing a page out of the playbook from Greg. We had a mural created to recognize this fire. You probably recognize the artwork because it's hanging in the admin building here. Jonathan Beastline is a phenomenal artist, and we started using him after seeing the work down here. But this recognizes all of the folks that helped us. We had 41 agencies from 2 different states, 4 different counties in Wyoming, plus Colorado helping us on this event, 200+ firefighters. So we just want to say thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the friendship and relationship that we have with LFRA. I've known Tim for a number of years before he arrived here, and it just continues. My first day walking in here, I just told Tim, was sitting in Chief Morawski's office 14 years ago, and then Chief Miller's office, and now Tim's office. So thank you from our citizens and my board of directors up in Cheyenne for the service that you've given us over the years. I appreciate it. I'll give this to you, President. A little card for the staff for their thank yous, and then a presentation. I think Chief Ford, if you want to come on up too. Not that I'm running your meeting.
So as I do this, Mayor, members of the board, I want to share something. If you look real closely in this picture, you might see one of our pieces of apparatus. So he has taken a few pieces of our apparatus in a good way. In a good way.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate all you do for us.
Can I read this to the board?
Yeah, absolutely. If you can read my writing.
Chief and LFRA, thank you for the years of support and service. The Dusty Road fire had the potential to be catastrophic for Laramie Fire Authority. Is it Laramie Fire Authority?
Laramie, yeah.
I'm reading initials, okay? Your support during this event is a clear picture of LFRA's 3 C's and 4 R's. Did I get that right?
You did, it's theirs.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you bringing this in.
Thank you.
Is this for my living room or did you want it in the hallway?
You're the chairman.
I'm gonna get back north, so thank you for.
All right,
taking the time.
thanks.
Thank you. That's nice.
Good.
Solly, thank you for being here. Okay, any other words and presentations? Okay, I will open it up for public comment, limited 3 minutes per speaker. So, public comments? Anybody online, on the phone? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody want pulled from that? I only see 2 items on there. Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries, thank you. All right, that will take us to our regular agenda. And Chief, I will turn it over to you for update regarding 24 and 25 budget updates and status.
Okay, so if we can capitalize on Brian's presence today. My intent was to kind of update the board on the activities over the past week. We did meet with acting city manager and acting deputy city manager Jackson and had the conversation about, obviously LFRA does not want to be a stick in the spokes in regards to the budgetary process. We've established kind of the process moving forward and our role within the process. So having said that, if you recall, and Brian, please chime in, we were asked, the original ask of us was $2 million, which ultimately comes out to $2.5 million in cuts or proposed cuts. So when we met, my request to both Rod and Mark was that we would submit $750,000 as proposed cuts on behalf of the LFRA. When you combine that with the additional 187.5 of the rural district, it comes down to 3%, which is in parallel with the LPD. And it's also basically comes out to $937,500 reduction. So it's a pretty substantial reduction. We submitted the specifics of that at the level that we felt was appropriate at the time. So, Brian, I don't know if I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I appreciate you being here. So anything that you want to share with that?
So that's what we're gonna bring to council on the 9th. Those are the amounts for the LFRA, so we've reflected that and, the allocations to the other departments. Or departments, I should say, so that'll just be a discussion on the 9th, but yeah.
So I don't know if the board has any questions about that. Okay, makes it easy. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have there.
Wow, I realized we forgot to acknowledge Amy Gallagher. Did we introduce her previously? I don't recall doing it.
We did not, but no time like the present.
Okay, great.
So, Mayor and Councilor Mallow, we have an addition. If you'll look at us, we're a little finance heavy. As we have announced in a bittersweet way of Fraser's departure on July 19th. The intent was to have as much crossover as that we possibly could because of his vast knowledge of what he's done for us throughout his stay, and then also just making sure that there was a good seamless transition. So Amy Gallagher joined us on last Friday. So she's got seniority of 3 days, doing a fantastic job. She came to us from Madison, Wisconsin. I'll let her do a little bit of background, but I do want to say this about her ambition and her desire to be here. We told her the situation with Fraser. Fraser was part of the interview process, and I know that kind of made her feel awkward. She eventually asked Fraser, "Why are you leaving?" So we explained that, kind of put her at ease. But she was willing to almost follow the moving trucks here and start that day. We allowed her to unpack before she started. But I think that says something about the individual that we hired, that she's willing to put herself out there and make sure that the transition is successful and that we lose no ground in Fraser's departure. So with that, Amy, I'll turn it over to you.
That's a dumb idea.
But she's not shy, so, yeah.
This is kind of a new start. Second chapter of my life. I moved out here to be near my daughter's young family, 10 minutes away from me. Very excited. I'm familiar with NOCO area over the last 7 years. Excited about all the recreation and things like that, but this has been such a warm welcome. And I'm excited to go through this process. I know it's different times and many changes that you're all going through, but I'm excited to help. I have a background, a really varied background. I'm a CPA with an MBA, and I've worked at a lot of different places, different industries. I have some public accounting experience. I've worked at Oscar Mayer, cost accounting there, down to like a family-owned winery. And then a lot of the last years have been working as a CFO or finance director for nonprofits, and specifically some that help people with disabilities. I have worked in local government, the small community that I grew up in, 3,000 people. But they have to do a lot of the same things a bigger city does. So I've done things like set mill rates and had to submit utility rate adjustments, things like that, and deal with the public. So I look forward to helping you out.
Can I ask a favor here, Chief? Just go around the room real briefly and introduce ourselves. I met Amy yesterday or day before, I can't remember which, so she knows who I am, but Mayor, I'm not sure,
Yeah.
she knows who everyone else is.
Jackie Marsh, Mayor and Board Member.
John Mallow, Loveland City Council.
Brent Waldy, CFO for the city.
I'm Emily Powell. I'm legal counsel to the authority, and I apologize to everyone for being late. Fun with construction.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask our audience too, because we have people here you'll be interacting with at a later date. So Councilor Foley, start with you and the chief. And
Dana Foley, City Council.
Jason Stark, one of the battalion chiefs.
I'm Gary Butterwell, Gary Butterwell with the Advisory Council.
Thanks. And Fraser, is this your last meeting?
This is my last meeting.
Are you excited?
I'll see you again at a real board meeting next week, though.
Okay. Well, again, we very appreciate all you've done. I believe Paul would like to say something.
Go ahead, Paul.
Hi, Amy. My name is Paul Bukowski. I'm driving, and Chief said not to put my face on camera, so I'm just going to be calling in on phone. But welcome, and we're looking forward to working with you, and we will miss Fraser, but we're looking forward to your help going forward.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul, and I'll have a conversation with Chief Ward about that.
Okay, Chief, turn it back over to you for briefing papers and correspondence.
All right, so I will attempt to share my screen. It's going to be another brief meeting, hopefully, so. Anybody? Says it's loading. I don't think we have any videos or anything, so. There we go. All right. Flag time. All right, Mr. Chairman and board, just again, I'd like to acknowledge the correspondence that we've received over the last month. This was a thank you to Mark Lyons. If you recall, Mark Lyons leads our honor guard. He actually went out and helped me with this one. This was the Grand Lodge. He did they did the presentation of colors for their opening ceremony. So nice thank you letter on behalf of the honor guard. I know the troops will love me for this one, but these are two more correspondence in regards to installation of smoke alarm, smoke detectors that we received. I tell the troops, this is above and beyond all the red trucks rolling down the road. This is where we get the most recognition. And I truly believe it is an outstanding service that we offer, and it definitely saves lives. So it's just two more of our citizens. And the bottom one here mentions that they're an elderly in their 80s. And again, I always refer back to that's mom and dad. They're of that age, and I greatly appreciate what our troops do to help our elderly population. This is pretty interesting. The city opened up opportunities for city employees to basically visit other departments, and we had a pretty overwhelming response. In fact, we're going to have 2 of these sessions. We just had it. Chief Ward did an outstanding job of coordinating this, and this is just some of the correspondence we received from city employees, just thanking us for what we put together. But I think the next slide, and I know you're not going to be able to see this, I apologize, but it is in your packet. That bar graph on the left is the strongly agree is the light blue, and then agree. And that's what they felt in regards to the overall presentation. Pretty dramatic response. And then if you have a chance to read these responses, I think it tells our story very well. I had the opportunity to open it up, kind of give them a history of the LFRA. And I think what was most rewarding to me was the fact that so many people said they had no idea. They had no idea what we do, the level of service that we have, and more importantly, that we cover beyond the city. That has been our most troubling message to get out, and for fellow employees not to realize that. No negative to them, but that's an important message to us that we got to continue to tell our story in a broader sense. So I appreciate their participation. Greg, we have another one in September. August. So we have another one coming up, so we're looking forward to that. This is graduation. This was graduating of 2 recruits. We originally started with 3. Unfortunately, one did not make it through the academy, but we're honored to bring on 2 additional recruits to start filling out the ranks of the LFRA. This is our first view of our seasonal mitigation crew at work. This was actually a training session followed up with what we had hoped to be our first true air curtain burner deployment, but we were restricted and weren't able to burn. So you see our telehandler down there on the left side, picking it up, loading it into a trailer, which thanks to the city, we were able to bring it down to the recycling center and get that off of the property. The key was this really rose to be kind of a frustrating situation for the landowner. He offered his land. This was not an agreement with us. This was us kind of coming in on the white horse and rescuing Larimer County Emergency Services as well as Big Thompson Watershed. They started the project. We were able to finish it. But I think what it does, I'm not frowning upon their efforts. I think it demonstrates the partnership that we had or have. We were able to get it off there. The bottom right is a thank you letter from the homeowner just saying thank you for taking care of it. So Chief Smith kind of led that charge with Tyler Nathy, our wildfire coordinator. So we're very proud to get that one under our belt. This one is a little bit of LFRA in the news. I think many of you have seen this. This is a lightning strike. I don't know if I'm sure there's been worse storms, but I've never seen the rain come down that hard, but it was accompanied by some pretty significant lightning, which ultimately created an attic fire. You see that this is a relation to Director Bukowski wrote a very nice write-up in the paper about the LFRA, but more importantly, the response of our members and the service that they provided that night. It was bad enough that we were not able to deploy our normal tactics of putting an aerial up, but the crews did the best that they could, came from the bottom using spikes, and did a fantastic job in saving that home. The other one is just the start, and I mentioned this during my presentation the other night at City Council. I thought Jocelyn really set the stage well for us in capturing the information and our goal to transition to a fire district. So I thought that was well put. And I'll apologize up front, it's a little self-serving, but I was interviewed a couple weeks back on a podcast for Fire Rescue Wellness. And the reason I share this with you is not because it's about me, but more importantly, it's about this organization. Organizations are starting to look at us based on some of the things that we're doing with our health and wellness program, the frontline contract, and ultimately what our overall goals are. And I think that's important. When you start getting that kind of attention, it starts to say something about the organization and opens up doors of opportunities. So this is just a start. It was a 1 hour interview, a gal out of Oklahoma. It's a national or international podcast that she does, pretty significant following. I was honored to be a guest. We'll see if anybody listens to it, so.
Chief?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry for interrupting. I've got a quick question for you. I think you may have handled this once before, but because of the Health and the Wellness Center and the things that proactively the authority, the department is doing to help people with not only, you know, the physical but mental aspect of their job, is there any financial benefit from a insurance perspective for this sort of thing? Not that that matters. I'm just curious.
Defer to Andrew on that. As far as any risk management or anything along that.
Reduction in costs is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Not right now.
Not at this point, but I think you bring up a good point. I think down the road when the program is fully implemented and we can start running some data, I think there could be a potential for a conversation. So it's a great question.
Thank you.
So I didn't have it in here. I didn't realize that I was going to introduce our new finance manager. So we met Amy. The wildfire module, I talked a little bit about that mitigation project that we had on Waltonia. They're doing home defense right now. I think they're doing 3 homes. Am I correct?
There's a total of 10.
Yeah. And that's all grant based. So the crew is up there. What that is basically prioritizing specific homes that got a grant. And we go in and do that immediate space around the home to make it a little more fire resistant. And then we will eventually burn that slash. So that's occurring right now in Storm Mountain. We also met with the folks at Sylvandale. Sylvandale had an agreement with the U.S. Forest Service. They have 1,000 piles sitting on their property. That again was part of a grant. And then there was another grant that was supposed to assist them in the burning process. We will be the recipient of that grant. That's a $55,000 grant to allow us to burn those piles. So that's a significant project. Now, why do we jump into these? Because if we don't, they sit there and it becomes a risk to our community here, as well as all the way up the mountains. So we're just trying to solidify those relationships. We run into stumbling blocks every once in a while. We did today, but we'll continue to navigate those. But pretty exciting stuff to demonstrate and show that we're making an effort. I don't know, Mayor, if you've seen an invite from Representative Weinberg. He's trying to put together a group to potentially put some bills forward regarding wildfire. So one of the things that I want to submit is basically a home defense process that allows us to kind of focus integrated mindset to elderly and those who are incapable of creating home defense. So if there's an opportunity at the state level for some legislation, we're going to try to navigate that path.
Chief,
Yeah.
you mentioned a stumbling block. What exactly would that be, if you can say?
Sure. So yes, no, these are important conversations. So yesterday, we started moving some slash to the property that we were approved to. And there was a resident that was concerned about us transporting noxious weeds and stuff onto their property. So it's those kind of things that you don't necessarily think about on the front end, like beetles. Are we taking them from one property and transporting them across to another property? So Emily's helping us kind of navigate that path and make sure we got the MOUs in place. We have full approval to do it. We had the conversation. It was a miscommunication that we were able to iron out. But this is where I continuously tell the executive staff all the way down to the line firefighter is this is all about relationships and your ability to communicate on the front end. But there are going to be those ripples in the water. Nobody wants to be told that they need to cut a tree. And we don't go in there to enforce that. We go in there to educate it. That's one aspect. And then when you remove that fuel, who would have thought about the noxious weeds potentially being an issue? So we got a little educated and we'll work within those parameters. Thank you.
Chief,
Yep.
just a quick comment if I could from experience, and maybe John's run across this too with insurance companies. They have dollars out there oftentimes that they will contribute to fire departments, fire authorities, whatever. And it's in their best interest as well as their customers' best interest to mitigate fires. And if there's some way we can involve them in all this, I think it'd be advantageous, not just from a dollar standpoint, but oftentimes they can do what we can't do and would like to do, like they'll tell a customer, you need to remove some trees, you need to remove some vegetation. Otherwise, you're gonna need to find a new insurance carrier. And like you said, nobody likes to hear it. They might come tell me that same thing, but I think they can be a good team player.
No, I can't agree more. And I will tell you, 2 Saturdays ago, we had members of the Rotary Club come to Station 7. We had a wildfire day there, an educational opportunity. Those members have a cabin in Estes, and their insurance went up $6,000 this year. I don't know anybody that's prepared to absorb that. And basically, they're shopping for insurance companies. Well, this is the other thing is the reason I want to push some legislation for home defense is we're going to have people within our district who can't get insurance. And I think it behooves us to get ahead of that and start basically planting the seed of we can create home defense using our mitigation crew. It helps us and it helps our community. Keeps the fire where it started and doesn't give it the opportunity to take out properties and lives. That's the objective, but it's very much in line with what you're saying. So, thank you. The next item is our CSFS interns. So Alec and Magnolia started on Monday. I apologize, they're not here. In fact, they are actually working. They're doing mitigation work. They did an administrative intern on the Western Slope. So now they came over here to do the practical application. I think we're opening their eyes. I think one is enthralled. The other one's like, oh my God, what I get myself into? But that's part of the internship process. So they're going to be with us for 6 weeks. That is it's fully compensated internship. That was a county grant that Commissioner Shattuck McNally helped us get. So that is fully paid by the county. Those 2 interns. So we're trying to train our own and raise our own locally. The next one is a project that Chief Ward and Chief Dan are working on. I think I shared this with you. Our friends to the south, Berthoud Fire Protection, currently do a contractual service for their fire prevention services. So what that is plan reviews and inspections primarily. Basically, Chief Charles reached out to us and said, hey, I'm not necessarily getting what I want from this contractor. Is there an opportunity for us to create a contract that you guys assume our fire prevention services? That's a pretty big ask. We don't know that we can bite that part of the apple, but Chief Ward and Chief Dan are kind of exploring that. This will not impose an expense on the LFRA. In fact, there will be a charge that we impose on Berthoud. You know, there will be a charge for the service and then an upcharge to make sure that we're fully compensated and we're not losing out on that opportunity. The biggest thing is can our staff do it? We don't want to impose additional work on them that is not within their abilities. So more to come on that, and I appreciate Chief Ward's work on that as well as Chief Dan's. City Council session. I'm staring at the 2 councilors, so or the mayor and councilor. So I don't know that I need to update you on. I do appreciate Councilor Mallow, you saying that was an outstanding presentation. I think I heard you say that, didn't you? Okay. Sure. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. City budget reductions, we talked about regional communication study. I just want to bring this. I have mentioned this one time before. I have an IGA from Chief Doran who oversees basically the communications. I want to send this out. I don't want this to come off in a negative manner. When we had this, we didn't have an agreement previously. We were being charged substantially more than our partners. There are 4 partners or stakeholders in this. So you have LPD, Berthoud Fire Protection, and Thompson Valley EMS with the LFRA. So when we started digging into this, we started talking budget numbers. We were paying twice as much as our partners, to include Thompson Valley EMS, who makes substantially more calls than us. So we started digging into it. Long story short, the 4 stakeholders worked this out. I think this is critically important. Again, this is about relationships. Chief Doran, Chief Charles, and Chief Robinson and I agreed that we'll all pay equally. So it's based on 911 calls. So when they receive a call, there is basically a charge that's equal across the board. I will tell you, I'm willing to enter into this agreement, but I don't think this is the right agreement. It is not a finished document. In the fact that we're all paying equally, but on an EMS call, 2 entities are going, LFRA and Thompson Valley EMS. That should be 1 call. But for the time being, so we can move this on down the road, I'm advocating we continue to research this, and ultimately, I want to advocate for a regional communication center. I think when the situation goes down, it is proven the Marshall Fire and any historical fire, communications is the first thing that is compromised. And I think when you regionalize, you pull resources, you can invest higher into technology. You're not chasing jobs or losing jobs in the process, but ultimately you're enhancing the communication process. Now, why am I speaking so strongly of that? Because what many of you may not know is LEDA, our partner out in Johnstown, is basically they just leased property to the Department of Fire Prevention and Control, the state. So we will have a hub in our community, in our district, from the DFPC. Now you have LEDA, and if we could formulate a regional communication center there, now we've got all the tools in one place. It ultimately, a 2006 study said we could save $3.2 million by doing that. Let me remind you, that was a 2006 study. It could be a substantial savings. It could help us across the board and ultimately enhance our service. Now, I'm speaking that not having conducted the study or reviewed the study. I'm advocating we go down that path. More to come on that, but I just wanted to share that with you. I will call your attention to this, and Brian, I want to call this attention to you. I shared this with Rod the other day. By us signing this agreement, Thompson Valley will be paying $128,000 more to the city for communications. Berthoud will be paying $35,000 more, and LFRA will be paying $50,000 additional. So we didn't get out scot-free. We paid our fair share, but more importantly, we brought $241,000 to the city that they didn't previously have. So I think that's an important point to bring up. And Brian, I'm not throwing that out at you to sling mud. I'm just bringing it to the table as further justification as to why we're taking the position that we are. So with that, I want to remind everybody of the 4th of July pancake breakfast, not at Station 2, which it historically has been. It will be at Station 10. So that's in Johnstown, and I will tell you, we have extended that invite thanks to the local and the members who are putting this on. They've given us the opportunity to invite some additional dignitaries. So obviously all of you are invited, but we also have invited the Johnstown Town Council. We've never been afforded that opportunity, so we're excited to extend that invite to them as well. So
County commissioners, no, because I.
county commissioners have already RSVP'd.
Okay.
We also have Senator Marchman, who is already RSVP'd, as well as Representative Weinberg.
We made sure they understand it's not Station 2.
We will reiterate that. How's that?
Joey's planning on being there at 8 AM tomorrow, so.
All right, so we may need to do a redirect 8:15. C4.
So this one we covered, that's Carrie meeting with the Berthoud staff as we start to work on the community safety division role down there and how we can help them potentially.
That's Chief, the back head of Chief Charles.
Did an engineer academy, so some of our firefighters that are working towards driver operator, acting driver operators of driving the engines. They spent a week, I believe it was, at the training center. just learning the ins and outs of the pumps and water supply. Followed that up with a tower or a ladder, aerial ladder operator class. That was another almost full week of ladder operations. We had 3 people graduate from that one. Some really cool pictures from up in the canyon, Engine 47 and the canyon volunteers doing water supply. And that bottom right, you can kind of see a rainbow. It's pretty cool in that photo that one of the canyon members took.
We did check it for gold and never found it.
Our aircraft rescue firefighters that are certified through the FAA for airport standbys and airport response, they have to go to DIA or another certified facility once a year for live fire. So we've been rotating our firefighters down to DIA for that live fire training last month or so. The Type 5 engine for Station 10, the brush rig that the rural district purchased almost 3 years ago, is almost done. They did the final 2 weeks ago on it, and they expect to get it on the road to us on the 12th of this month.
Am I correct? August of 2021 was the order.
Correct, August 23rd of 2020. New item for logistics and somewhat the wildfire mitigation module. One of the things we took on with logistics this year was some of the landscaping duties at Station 7, 8, 9, and 10 that are not city owned. And Captain Lyons worked on a trailer so they could haul the mower and haul the grass and all of that. And they worked with Tyler from the wildfire to make sure it was a big enough trailer that if he needed a trailer for moving material for the wildfire mitigation, that it could serve 2 purposes. So that came in a couple weeks ago. This young lady won a ride to school in a fire truck the last week of school. So January and Chief Carmesino made that happen, and her family was there, and part of them got to ride as well. Chief mentioned this one, but the Wildfire Community Education Day on the 22nd up at Station 7 had a lot of our partner agencies. You can see in the photo Larimer County and the Big Thompson Watershed and Denver Alliance that are joining us. I think it goes to.
Okay, so a few incidents for this month. Beginning of the month was a hazmat response over in Thompson River Ranch subdivision at the pool. There's a problem with the chlorine and hydrochloric acid that was in there. It's just part of the pool compounds that kind of mixed together, and we had to help address it and make it safe. So little entries for that one. Fire that we had at Stevens Auto. Not sure exactly what caused it, but we think an electrical in that one.
Sprinklers.
Yeah, that's what the number of sprinklers say. Yeah, that's the word that you can be very happy with that. This was our lightning strike where we had a fire in the attic. Good job from the crews and stop it from becoming a problem. Our states, the federal team was activated to go down and help with searches in New Mexico during the wildfires. We have a handful of members that are on the team. 2 of them went this month. They only were gone for about a week. Jeremiah Clymer is one of the hazmat specialists, and then Lieutenant Jason Tanner is a rescue specialist, and they both went. And just got back last Saturday.
So keep in mind, when they're deployed, that is reimbursed, as is their backfill. So there is no expense to us. It's a fantastic opportunity for us to get our members exposed to a little additional experience. So it makes us a little more well-rounded. Certainly helping hand at the state and national level is very beneficial. So, anything you want to talk about?
Oh, so the additional deployment, Tyler, our wildfire coordinator, actually left yesterday to go help with some firing operations. There's a big fire that's down in Pueblo. If you guys aren't aware of that, and there's a management team down there that he's also a part of. They requested him for a few days, so we let him go. And again, same scenario. They cover his costs and the backfill, and so he's gonna help them for a few days and then come back.
So the ultimate goal with that mitigation crew would make them deployable as well. So if their apparatus goes, that's compensated as well. So everything is basically backfilled in the organization at home.
And then our last one was an RV that made it into the Big Thompson River this past weekend. Good night news in case you saw that. Chief Officer did a little interview with them, but took a little bit to get it out of the water.
Yeah.
Nobody hurt, but yeah,
Can you comment on how it ended up there?
I hadn't heard exactly how that.
I think it began with hold my beer.
I told my wife I'd get back to her on it.
I don't think you're with that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I know everyone wants to get out of here. But I've struggled with bringing up a topic, but I think it's important that I do. I've had the privilege and the pleasure of working with the authority for 15 years. We've had an absolute wonderful relationship with the city. Board members have always gotten along well. It's been a great experience. But the last couple of months, I feel like have deteriorated significantly. And I understand there's a lot of financial pressures. Amy, please don't leave. And this is probably weighing on people's minds, but I want to share an experience that I had with you about a month ago. And please bear with me during this. I've made some notes. I want to try and stay on track. I honestly wish that the acting city manager was here so he could comment on it if he felt like he needed to. But the chief and I were talking. He was telling me about an upcoming finance meeting and had some concerns with it. And I asked the chief, I said, would it be okay if I attended this? And he said, absolutely. And I've always felt very, very welcomed at any city meeting I've ever been to, any subcommittee meetings. I've often been invited without inviting myself, which is generally the rule. And I have always felt like my input is valued. And I have always felt like we operated with complete transparency. So I showed up at the city manager's conference room, arrived probably 5 or 10 minutes early. Chief and I were sitting there talking. And I can't remember exactly what happened. I think maybe even Frazier was sitting there with us. And Rod walked in, acting city manager, and he looked very upset. I thought he was upset with the chief for some reason. I stood up, shook his hand, smiled. I mean, I've always felt I've had a great relationship with Rod. I've known Rod for 15 years. And this isn't about me. This isn't about Rod. This is about relationships and the importance of the LFRA surviving and becoming a district. He pointed his finger at the chief and said, I need you in my office. And the two of them left. And shortly thereafter, Brian and his assistant Molly walked into the room. And it was a little bit awkward. I gotta tell you, just a lot of silence. And I'm gonna guess we sat there, Frazier, 5-10 minutes. And the chief came in, and the chief might disagree with me on this, but he looked red in the face, looked embarrassed. I knew right then something was wrong, and he basically said, I need everybody to go down to the city manager's office except you, Jeff. I knew right then what was happening. And I was asked to leave the meeting. Before the meeting even began. This is the meeting talking about our budget. This is the same person who sat in our last meeting talking about how important transparency is in communicating with one another. And the questions that immediately come to my mind are, what is being said that I shouldn't hear or can't hear? Why wouldn't they want to hear from me if I had something to say what was said to the chief. If it was important that I leave, why wasn't Rod down there asking me to leave instead of asking the chief to come down and ask one of his 5 bosses to leave? Rod's a fellow board member. He's part of this board. He should have respect for this board. This isn't about me and Rod. He should have respect for this board. He should have respect for this position. And I'm gonna tell you from a personal standpoint, it was embarrassing and it was humiliating. Because I know Brian knows, I know Molly knows, I know that Frazier knows that I was asked to leave. What kind of message does that send to the city of Loveland and their employees? What have I said, or what has this board said to be treated this way? We've always been open and honest with each other, been complete transparency. So I want to share that with the board. I've already shared it with the rural board. I apologize I couldn't be here at the study session the other night with city council. I would have loved an opportunity to have talked further about this. Had there been any questions? I'm not trying to create a cloud or make things worse than they already are, but I think we need to show a lot of transparency and a lot of respect for each other in the positions in there. And remember, this is a government entity, this authority. And quite frankly, I felt like they created a hostile work environment for someone like the chief. He should have never, ever have been put in that position. So I've said my piece. I have nothing further to say unless somebody wants to ask me a question. But I hope we can put this behind us and move forward with respect, with transparency, with honesty, and trying to appreciate where each other's coming from on this. I mean, I love this authority. I've got 15 years invested in, and probably everybody in this room can say the same thing in terms of you're here for a reason. And we can't treat each other like this. It just can't go on this way. So I'll open it up if anybody else has something they want to say, or Emily, if you feel like you need to say anything from a legal standpoint. And I guess the last thing I want to say is I need the chief to see respect from the city, which I feel, and I'm not, chief's a big boy, he can speak for himself, but I cannot stand by and watch the chief continue to be treated the way of disrespect that he has over the last 6 months. Paul, go ahead.
Sorry, Jeff. I guess I have a question and a comment. So the question would be, in the past, when there have been similar meetings, I understand this is a little different because it's a little different time, but in the past, when there's been financial meetings, have you gone to those?
Absolutely. In fact, I've had to beg off invited to some of the meetings because I just haven't had the time to be there.
Okay. Second of all, I'd like to know who Rod reports to, because you may say this isn't about you and Rod. Well, I think if Rod was sitting here, if I was in the meeting and I was looking at him, this is about Rod. If that's how he treated the chief, and we haven't even heard what happened in the meeting between Chief Sendelbeck and Rod. So I haven't heard that part of the story. But for him to treat you, the chair of this board, that respectfully, and for him to act as though our fire chief is one of his employees is absolutely ridiculous. So I'd like to know, we have 2 city council people in the meeting, if I heard correctly, and a mayor. What are you prepared to do about this? And who does Rod report to? Because I got to believe if some employee of the city did that to somebody else, there better be some ramifications.
So if I can maybe step in at that point to say, Paul, I certainly understand your expressed sentiment, but we are, just as that situation with the finance meeting was in the gray, we're in the gray again. I regret that Rod isn't here today to be a part of the conversation, but just as the chief is not a city employee, Rod is not an authority employee, and it's not for the authority to ask for or request personnel action be taken. He is a member of this board, so I think we need to sort of set that discussion aside. I will say that I was aware of what happened in the meeting. I've spoken with Vince Jungles about this situation. Vince and Rod have communicated directly. I think it's very clear to all parties now that although the chief is a member of the executive team and has the appearance of a department head, he is not a city employee and does not report to Rod in that capacity. So I would like to think that we have righted the ship, hopefully, and that we're on a path toward clearer and more transparent communication moving forward. But certainly folks at the city are aware of what happened. They're talking about it within their appropriate structure and policies and procedures, but it's not our place as the authority to step in.
Emily, if I might just respectfully disagree with you. We had a city manager who bumped into an reporter, and it was front page news. It was on the actual news, the video news. He was reprimanded, if I understand it, and he also had to take anger management classes. So explain to me how a city manager bumping into a reporter is any different than an acting city manager doing what he did. Help me with that one.
I'm not going to weigh in on the city's internal personnel and disciplinary processes or how they conduct those types of investigations. What I'm saying is it's not this board's role to look to the city and say, how are you going to discipline your employee who is also a sitting board member of our board? The city is aware of what happened and it can conduct such investigations and take appropriate action as it deems necessary, but it would be just as inappropriate for this board to say, we now want the city to take action against Director Mallow for something that occurred at city council, for example. All we can do is make folks aware of what happened. Everyone here wears dual hats. Sometimes Rod wears a city hat, sometimes he wears an authority hat. And the city needs to handle the city hat pieces and we'll handle the authority hat pieces.
Okay, very, very well said, Emily. And based on that, I'll assume that our colleagues from the city are going to do, or they'll do something and they'll take it in their hands. So that's great. And one thing I'd like to do is make sure that, yeah, we're working very diligently to try and create a district. And with the budget issues that we're facing, this has nothing to do with either one of those issues, right? This is exactly how described this. This is a situation that was disrespectful, has nothing to do with our conversations going forward. And I want to make that really clear because I don't want anybody about this going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's right, Paul. We're still all on the same bus and we're still all driving toward forming a district. And I think the hope is that we can let the dust settle and have clear, open, honest, transparent communications moving forward so that trust can be established or reestablished throughout this process.
Thank you, Emily.
On that, my intent is not to look for disciplinary action. My intent is that we have an understanding as an authority board, what our roles are and how we work with each other, and a sense of teamwork, partnership that we seem to have lost in the last 6 months. We should all be working together. We should welcome input from each other. We should be sharing information, working together. But I don't think this can be accomplished without knowing where we've been. And that's why I think it needed to be said.
If I could just weigh in on that, I think we are well on our way, and I compliment Emily, Linda, Dylan, Dalton, Brian, Molly. Those subcommittees that we've created, those conversations have been incredibly productive, and I think we're starting to carve a path. Brian and I have communicated. He's working on some aspects with Dylan and Dalton. We will carve that path. And it's unfortunate that this has kind of been a cloudy issue. And I would ask, as one who was directly involved, I'm willing to, let's put this behind us if we can. You've said your piece, Chairman, and I greatly appreciate that. But I really think, we got a lot of work ahead of us. And we gotta climb this mountain together. We're not gonna make it if we're divided. So, I would just ask that, and I want to compliment the folks that we've interacted with of late. We're well on our way. We're gonna accomplish this, but we need to do it together.
Further comments?
I just wonder, you know, do you feel conflicted on who you report to? It's kind of a gray area.
It is a gray area, and I'll say this on Rod's behalf too. Rod's in a very difficult situation. And I said it to Mark Jackson. You know, the other night, he said, I'm gonna put on my public works hat. Public Works Director. So he's conflicted as well. I don't have any question, haven't had any question. You know, I've called the chairman my boss, and he says, I'm not your boss. Well, I perceive each and every one of you that sit in those chairs as my boss. It is a awkward situation to say I don't report to the mayor, I don't report to the city manager. But that's an internal thing. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable today as I was previously. My goal is to get us to a district and make this organization what it potentially can be.
Steve Adams was very good about any time he wanted to meet with the chief, I was invited to be part of that conversation. And I didn't always do it. I mean, but he understood that the chief was not his employee. And he was a member of the board. And if he wasn't speaking to him as a member of the board, then somebody from the board certainly should be with the chief if the chief so desires. Okay, I've got nothing else to say. I apologize if this comes across wrong. I don't want to create a negative atmosphere moving forward. But I think to move forward, to be positive, we have to have an understanding of a relationship with each other and how we're going to work with each other.
There's no reason to apologize, Jeff.
Okay, is there any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.